Welcome back to the Garena Premier League, Day 2 of the group stages. My name is Vulcan, with me is Gisto. Your shoutcasters entering Game 2, Mineski versus Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
Yeah, and of course, this is match 2. Let's do a quick recap of what happened during the first game for the day. We kicked things off between Bigatron Esports, where they unfortunately weren't able to come out with a victory over Ascension. And I think after that game, Ascension really solidified their spot at the top of the standings. Now Mineski will look to tie them headed into the second match.
So this will be a very important match because for Mineski, they ended day 1 with a 2-0 standing. And as for KLH, 1-1 standing. If ever KLH does get 1 point away from Mineski, this will tie things up here against Mineski.
Yeah, that will mean that Kuala Lumpur Hunters, if they do come out on top versus Mineski in match 2 for today, it will mean that they are tied in the standings. But the all-important thing here, Vulcan, is you aren't at the bottom of the standings because headed onto the playoff stage. Today is the final day of the group stage, and whoever is in last place out of these 5 teams will unfortunately be out of the running on the road to MSI. So a lot on the line for today.
As for Kuala Lumpur Hunters from day 2, such even way to saying things out because of 1-1 standing, but for Mineski, more pressure onto them to try and carry the momentum coming from our first day onto day 2 here of the GPL.
Yeah, and speaking of the first day, Vulcan, it looks very clear that since Mineski and Ascension were the 2 teams that came out after the first day with 2-0s, it looks like they're very clear favorites headed into day 2. So I wonder when they do face off in later today, how will that pan out?
We'll all find out here, Chisto, once we load up to the drafting phase. But as for the short recap of what happened in our day 1, gotta say for Mineski, anything with a 2-0. Convincing victories all throughout. But now moving on to day 2. Let's see how things will pair with Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
Yeah, of course, you see here the roster of Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Shiro in the top lane, KSPL jungle.
Spot the difference.
Our hedge mid, Azora Vecchi AD carry. And if you're wondering
Combo breaker
why Watajes isn't wearing a Kuala Lumpur Hunters jersey, he is a lone player since the entire roster of Kuala Lumpur Hunters, unfortunately, what their starting AD carry Razy wasn't able to attend this GPL due to personal issues, so they had to field the sub, and Watajes is who they took.
Yes, and as for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, again, having that sudden issue, what letdown it was, or rather, what unfortunate it was for Kuala Lumpur Hunters. But as for Mineski, looks like we'll be seeing the same roster as we saw in the PGS split. Note that it will be TGS in support, and instead of James playing, it will be Exocen.
Yeah, we finally get to see Exocen play mid lane. Of course, James yesterday, he played absolutely wonderful. I wonder, the team of Mineski, their dynamic does change once Exocen is put into the lineup. So let's just have to wait and see once they do start to go onto the Rift.
I think, yes, it would be TG playing this game here. So I think we're all ready here. The hype here for Mineski, one of the teams from the Philippines. Great roster change. Let's see everything unfold in the drafting.
Yeah, of course, it will be Kuala Lumpur Hunters on the blue side here. And I think since every team was able to see what Mineski were able to bring to the table yesterday, they might want to ban out a few of the key picks that Mineski really uses, such as the Leona or the Ezreal from Gary. Really try and remove some of that comfort from Mineski.
And as for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they need to realize that for Mineski, they need to take away the picks that are actually one of the highest pick for Mineski, as such as, let's say, we can expect for Kuala Lumpur Hunters can pick up the Olaf, which is still available, and we do know that that is rising popularity. TG's Tomkins, TG's Fresh is available, but now has been banned out. So Mineski, right now, let's see what they will ban out. Talia.
Yeah, looks like they will deny that Talia from our hedge in the mid lane. They don't want to deal with that side lane pressure and the Weaver's Wall as well. Let's see what Kuala Lumpur Hunters will decide for their third and final ban for the first part.
Okay, so Kuala Lumpur Hunters on the blue side, whereas Mineski will be sitting on the red side. Last ban from Kuala Lumpur Hunters, it could potentially be the Skarner, which has been rising in popularity still, but in a way, the Olaf is left open.
Mineski do have the option to ban out the Olaf, but if it is left open, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kuala Lumpur Hunters just instantly first pick it for KSPL. I mean, he did have in a great performance on that champion yesterday. Let's see though, Mineski are taking their time with this final ban.
Let's see, as far as we can see from the bans right now, it will be the Sejuani Thresh at Skarner. But instead, it will be the Swain being removed here. Kuala Lumpur Hunters thinking back and forth. I wonder what the Swain ban would be a focus on to Shiro, one of the flex picks that we can expect in patch 8.5.
It's interesting that KLH aren't just instantly hopping on the Olaf here, Vulcan, because normally we'd see teams instantly first pick that because he is one of the strongest junglers at the moment. And
there we go.
Okay, there we go with the predictions. The Olaf gonna be locked in for Kuala Lumpur Hunters. As for Mineski, they do have options. I do think they might just resort to pick the Ezreal here for Gary or possibly pick up a jungle pick for Jun. There's still a lot of junglers available on the table. Zac might be an option.
Camille is still an option here. Same as for Kha'Zix. One of the junglers who, in a way, still is performing even all throughout the patches despite the nerfs happening to the other junglers. It looks like the Varus with the Ezreal.
I think they're going to go with the Ezreal here because Gary, I think he played 2 games on this champion yesterday and he was playing very well with it. Ezreal is a fairly safe pick. So let's see, it is locked in by Mineski. The response though from Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they might want to pick up their bot lane here. There is a hover on the Fiddlesticks, but I really don't think they'd want to lock that in. I think Cassie was just trolling us a bit. Okay, the Varus, I think, will be the final lock in here. KLH would want to pair this with a bit more of Engage, probably something like a Braum, perhaps?
The Braum is left open, which is often paired up with a Varus all throughout, so let's see. We also know that for TG, he can also use the Tahm Kench paired up with his own Varus if Gary picks it up. Well, it'll be the Galio.
Okay, interesting pickup here.
So the question is, could we see another Corki coming in here from Mineski?
I'm not quite sure, Vulcan, because given the way that the Galio was picked, he was picked fairly early. But it isn't Hamas playing in the mid lane, it's now EXO.
No.
And I don't think EXO is one of those big Corki players, unlike Hamas.
We can maybe expect his Azir coming in here, and there it is, the Azir.
Oh, this is way more EXO compared to it. I mean, you would have asked the question if Mineski did lock in the Corki, but it's EXO playing, so the Azir, a much more EXO-sent champion, will be the matchup going into the Galio. Now, headed into this second part of the banning phase, no team has picked up a top laner or a support, so I expect the bans to go that direction. The champion pools of the top end supports will be a bit pinched here. Shen already banned out, and this kind of hits 2 birds with 1 stone because we've seen Shen go both the top lane and support position. So Mineski, really great option for banning here.
And not just that, we also know that for TG, he uses the Shen support during his first run during the PGS. And as for the Tahm Kench of TG, it will be removed. Focusing onto that, note that the Braum is still available for Mineski to pick it up, and that's the same as for KLH.
Braum might be the final ban here for Mineski, so we just have to wait and see. And then once they do ban the Braum, they can opt to first pick the Camille and deny the Camille and Galio combo because KLH do not have a top laner yet. So
maybe
it's on the clock.
Maybe they will trade the Camille for the Braum. Let's see. The Shogun's ban coming in from Mineski.
Okay, it looks like they will be targeting the top laners. Now KLH, they do have the option. Do they want to give the Camille over to Kaigo? Because Kaigo does play this champion.
Camille and Braum is available for both teams here. Let's see what will the final ban be. I won't be surprised if they try to go for another pinch to the support pool, and it will be the Braum being banned out.
Yeah, no surprise there. TG really being pinched since Mineski didn't opt to select his support earlier, but there's still a lot of things available here for Mineski. Alistar might be an option. Really great support to be paired with the Ezreal, and TG does play Alistar. Looks like they will send priority though over to the Gnar.
Looks like we will see
it's yet to be locked in.
We'll see the same Gnar pick that we saw from Kaiko yesterday from day 1. Alistar is available, can fairly synchronize well with the Galio, but we'll see. It is a Varus being paired with Alistar, but it won't be optimal for
yeah, KLH actually have a lot of options here, but what they do know...
Alistar it is, I think.
Yeah, Alistar will be the lock-in, and that denies TG one more pick that he could have selected here. So the support of Mineski really not being given that many options. Now for KLH to round out their draft, we're gonna get to see what Shiro will decide to bring versus Kaigu's Gnar because they do know the Gnar is definitely going to the top lane. Let's see what their counter pick will be.
2 seconds left on the timer. It will be the Rumble being picked in by Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Now the question is, what support is available for TG to get? It will be the Rakan.
Rakan wouldn't be bad here because of the amount of bans going to the support role, but I would like to see something that can act as disengage since they already have the Emperor's Divide from Azir. Janna would fit that role. Tarek is also great here, so yeah, it looks like Mineski heavily towards the team fighting side here since they don't have a real tank. Gnar is one of those champions that's kind of in the middle between being a tank and a carry. The Tarek with the Cosmic Radiance will just assist both Kaigo and Jun if they do decide to go in. As for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they also want a team fight here once they hit their power spec, especially look at the champions on KLH. The level 6 is incredibly important. If they aren't able to make a play once they hit level 6, I think it might be difficult for KLH to set up plays moving forward throughout the game.
Okay, so this will be the final rundown of the champions. Moving on to our game 2. Looks like Mineski going in for more team fight. I mean, it does complement the Azir and the Tarek combo here. But for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, we have yet to see. Let's see, the level 6 is very important for them.
Yeah, and of course for KLH, looking at their performance yesterday, during their first game, they didn't have that same dominance as the second game when they moved forward. It looks like they have formed up though, and hopefully they will show up here versus Mineski.
And as for, let's say, this game 2 is quite important for both teams. This could potentially shape the standings here. And as for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they can force, let's say, a mini tie with Mineski if they take away this game 2.
Yeah, but of course, regardless of that tie, Vulcan, they still both will be in the top 4. So that's very important. Headed, of course, into the playoff stage. And as we see on your screen, the standings right now, Ascension Gaming sitting at the top. Mineski, they're trying to tie that 3-0 win-loss record. As for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they want to be on equal footing with Mineski.
And as for the viewers just tuning in right now, you're watching the Korean Premier League Spring Season 2018 group stages. We are now our day 2, and now moving on to the Rift.
Yeah, and we're headed on to the Rift for match 2. It was Mineski on the red side versus Kuala Lumpur Hunters on the blue side. Just standard lines of defense here. Just both teams watching out for any invades that might happen. I wouldn't be surprised to see KLH go for an invade here. The level 1 is fairly strong. Oh,
there's a slow. A lot of slow with the rocket and the Winds of War. So much damage onto June, forcing him out. Side, there's red side. There's a war being placed by Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
Yeah, that's tough for a Kha'Zix. You're forced to start your E just to start your jungle. It's going to be incredibly difficult for him to clear his first buff, so it looks like KSPL will have more initiative when it comes to the early game pathing.
And as for, let's see, June, forced to go towards the blue side. He will start blue. So for KSPL, he knows that he has vision on the red side of Mineski. This gives them control and anticipate where Jun can go.
Yeah, you know that feels bad as a Kha'Zix. Normally, you'd want to start your first 2 abilities being the Q and the W, but now he's forced to start with his hop, so his clear will be severely impacted. And given that his matchup is the Olaf, Caspiel, like I mentioned, he will have more initiative in this early game because he'll just clear that much faster compared to Jun.
They know that Jun was spotted in the red side from the blue to the red. This is information going to Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Looks like the ward has just expired for KLH.
Yeah, they do know that he is towards that side of the map, and that means KLH's bot lane can play a bit more aggressively, knowing that there will be no early pressure coming in from the Kha'Zix.
Looks like he may go for the Wolves and may visit the bottom lane, but looks like in the top lane. Kaigo with his Gnar, again, pushing the lanes as hard as he can.
You know, I'm actually interested what was the thought process during the Hunter's champ select, because Gnar is the usual counter pick into Rumble. It's very difficult for Rumble to match up in the top lane versus the Gnar. But I think I need to hold that thought, Vulcan. This is a gang
going in. Todd has connected to the Azir, but it was a bit too late. Looks like the shifting sands gave enough room for EXO to escape.
Yeah, and not just that, Vulcan, there's still no Predator yet on this Olaf. Normally, we'd wait for him to go on his first back, then he'd pick up the boots, and then you could see Predator, and that really boosts the Olaf ability to catch onto ganks. But going back to my previous talking point where KLH sort of shot themselves in the foot when they picked this Rumble into the Gnar. Because Kaigo did blind pick this and they decided to counter pick themselves. So it looks like Shiro just going for the more team-oriented pick.
And now that for Rumble, I could picture that Shiro wants to go for a lot of damage, lots of AP damage into the side of KLH. They have the mixed damage coming from the Varus, they have the Galio. But as for, yeah, I do agree that blind picking Gnar and then going to a Rumble, it will be a difficult matchup, but looks like Shiro will challenge that counter.
Yeah, you definitely need a lot of confidence if you want to bring Rumble in this matchup. As hold that thought, bot lane.
Flash has been burned by TG, but the Dazzle will connect the stun, so looks like no more pursuit would happen from KLH. Alistar will back away.
Yeah, and I think we expect this, Vulcan, given the way that the level 1 panned out after that invade. Since the Kha'Zix was forced to start with his hop, he wasn't able to match the clear speed of the Olaf, so he wasn't able to have the same initiative when it comes to ganking lanes. And looking at that already, Caspiel, he's already moved towards both mid and bot lane and has 4 summoners down bot.
Looks like the waves are pushing in for Mineski's top lane. Kaigo doing a lot of damage here in the lane, but looks like we're seeing the 2 junglers meeting eyes, but they will not go for a skirmish here. Looks like Jun was just scouting out this Olaf in the blue side of KLH.
Yeah, I don't think Jun is interested to fight this Olaf yet. I mean, he doesn't have any of those lethality items. It's still fairly early into the game. And I think Mineski, they're just happy to scale a bit here.
And now that we're playing on patch 8.5, not 8.6, where the lethality has been touched in 8.6 to really hinder, I mean, really just hammer down the Dust Blade.
Now looking at this bot lane, like I mentioned, the members of Mineski, they want to scale here. Of course, Azir, very, very strong towards the late game. The Gnar, just a beast when it comes to split pushing. And the Ezreal as well, of course. You really won't go for early game power with the Ezreal. Normally, after your first back, you won't be investing immediately into damage. You'd go for the tier and then just try and stack that up until you could complete something like a Burabada, and then you go for fights.
And you know what I love to see from Mineski, because for KLH, at the start, they did a lot of work to pressure the Kha'Zix, and looks like they'll stop the recall there. TG going in onto the Varus. All focus onto the Varus, but looks like TG oversteps. Forced to give a first blood to the Varus of Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
Yeah, I don't think TG was wise to take that fight there. He didn't have his flash due to the earlier engage by the bot lane of KLH. He just stuck around for a bit too long. The Ezreal will get out damaged by a Varus. It's very tricky for Gary to get all of his damage in, because there's what the Jess on his Alistar body blocking those Mystic shots for Zorveki, where all the Varus has to do is right click to whoever's closest to him, and that's why KLH won that duel.
This is the power of the Alistar when it comes to the combo, the hard engage. But going back to the point of this Olaf picked by KLH, this is why Olaf, in a way, if it was left open, this is why teams prioritize it. Olaf's clear is just ridiculous. Has enough speed so that he can try and counter jungle the Kha'Zix. What happened there? Deny the red buff start from Jun, and that changed everything for Mineski.
Yeah, not just deny the red buff start, Vulcan. It's more of the fact that the Kha'Zix was forced to start his hop. You really don't benefit from having hop level 1. I think, honestly, I would have flashed in that situation and just saved my damage ability so that I could clear a bit faster and just been a more patient. So mini victories turning out into some larger wins for KLH.
Looks like the level 6 has reached for Axelsen. As for KLH, gonna give the blue buff to the Galio. This will be the level 6 Galio. Unlock. Hero's Entrance is now available for Kuala Lumpur Hunters to use, and Mineski needs to be aware.
Yeah, the question now is, will EXO allow our hedge on this Galio to roam? Because the Azir can push in the Galio in this matchup, as the red buff will be invaded.
Peekaboo, eyes.
Shiro's also here.
Looks like the Rumble going in here. Level 7 on this Rumble. Ultimates are now available, and KLH will be stealing away the red buff.
Yeah, I think Shiro was just first to the party right there.
This hurts the Kha'Zix so much. Not only the hop start, but now losing the red buff. This happens really quickly, and looks like level 6 won't happen for the Kha'Zix, so he won't be able to evolve. And that is going to be more time delayed on this Kha'Zix.
Yeah, but do take note though, Vulcan, the early game does favor Kuala Lumpur Hunters composition. since Caspiel does have the lead on this Olaf, he will have more initiative when going for these invades, and the Rumble will be able to assist him. Let's see though, will KLH pull the trigger soon? Because if they want this lead to get bigger, they need to look for an engage and possibly go for a snowball. But speaking of engaging, here we go.
God, 4 members in the bot lane of Mineski. Looks like forcing out the flash from Gary. The members of Mineski trying to cut them off here. EXO approaching from the blue side. Emperor Survive is available. Pushes 2 members over that wall. 1 turret hit there, but EXO over commits. Chain of Corruption was connected towards the Azir and immediately chunks EXO down.
Yeah, that was an Emperor's Divide, but what do you get from that? Nothing, basically. EXO, he dashes into his death. The focus fire from KLH. The moment they saw the Azir jump in, regardless of them getting shoved, everyone was hitting EXO. And he doesn't have something such as a stopwatch or zone just to really delay his death. So, a bit of a suicide play there by EXO.
And not just that, for Gary, he has yet to pick up the pickaxe. Normally when we saw Gary in day 1 of the group stages, his build path usually goes tier, Sheen, and then immediately goes for the pickaxe because he needs that added bonus damage. But this time, it's all different. KLH really having a powerful early game hindered the pathing of June. Not just that, that it really hurts the Kha'Zix so much in this early game, where June needs to shine.
You know, Vulcan, we always praise Mineski for playing like such an aggressive team, but so far it looks like their aggression has been their weakness for this game. This is not the point in time where your team wants to fight. They need to let the Ezreal, they need to let the Azir get a few more items until they can start picking fights versus KLH, because they're just not at that point of power where they have enough battle stats. They don't have enough items or points in their abilities to start fighting the members of Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
And not just that, for KLH, note that Caspia, one of the players from KLH's team, in a way I would like to call him the shot caller for KLH, because the way he moves when he goes in, team will follow. We have the Alistar, we have the Olaf, and that can call in the hero's entrance with the Ragnarok.
Yeah, I mean, who needs a Camille or a Jarvan? Wait, Caspiel is been caught out here.
3 members connecting in the stun. Let's see. Cosmic Radiance comes in, shining. Looks like Mineski. Will they go for a fight? Chain of Corruption lands onto TG. EXO shifts over that wall. Gary goes in with a shift towards the virus, but in the end, looks like Kuala Lumpur Hunters escape without any casualties. We know Mineski suffers another loss.
Yeah,
TG is down.
Like I mentioned, this is not the time yet for Mineski to start picking fights. You do not have the items, you don't have the levels. You will not deal enough damage yet. KLH will just defeat you if you try to go for these skirmishes. Mineski are playing a bit too impatiently here. Yeah, we're going over to the replay. Like I mentioned, this is not the time to start fights. KLH will just turn it around onto you. And regardless of your invulnerability from the Cosmic Radiance, there's a follow-up damage, see? They weren't able to take down Caspiel.
They were not able to take down any members of Kuala Lumpur Hunters, but for Mineski, they were trying to make something out of this. But in the end, great play by Kuala Lumpur Hunters for at least spotting out the weaknesses and then using their early game advantage towards their favor.
Yeah, it looks like they have been exploiting a lot towards Mineski because of the fact that Jun was shut down during their early game.
And as for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they need to further solidify the leads, because so far KLH is doing a great job going in with Caspiel. I gotta say, that's why I keep talking about the red buff start being stopped by Caspiel. He knows that the Kha'Zix, he knows the Kha'Zix champion. He plays this champion, so he knows it in and out. He's trying his best to deny more resources coming in for the invade.
Yeah, I don't think Jun would want to start this fight. Caspiel.
Oh man, level A to A. Teleport in, coming in. Looks like Caspiel. What a steal!
EXO needs to get out here. RH is here to support the invade of his jungler. They do burn the teleport and they take away the blue buff from Mineski's side. So a lot of resources being removed here by KLH. They know that they're ahead, and that's why they're confident to go for more of these invades.
You know what I love about the fact that KLH is doing a lot of advantages, pushing back Jun outside of his jungle. this still doesn't stop June from trying to match the CS of this Olaf. But in the end, it all comes down to the resources of Mineski being taken away. So KLH can stay the lanes longer, push harder. And now, the gold lane is still not yet that definitive, but looks like we might expect a gank in the bot lane. Note that there is a control ward there, but KSPL.
Yeah, our hedge is moving up.
He has the Ragnarok Hero's Address is now available. Signals the green light in, and looks like the Predator has been popped. Radius comes in instantly, channeling through, denies the damage, but looks like Gary is forced to push back under his tower, leaving behind TG. Gary getting the return damage, Trojan Barrage. Minions doing the works here. Will the minions kill KSPL? And no! A hairline of health. KSPL survives.
Single-digit HP on that Olaf. Absolutely calculated play right there. Zones out Gary. They do pick up the support. And they also pick up the first start of the game. KLH making use of their lead right here.
Well played by KLH, going for that dive. I mean, very coordinated dive there coming from KSPL. Again, calls in the Galio.
KSPL had 8 HP, Vulcan. That's how close. He was literally one hit away from anything to going down. KLH just picking on Mineski right now. They're using their lead and they're bullying them.
At this point, looks like he has to be careful. KSPL, note that the Gary already picking up the Manamune with the Sheen and then going for the Glacial Shroud. So it looks like he will go for the Frozen Gauntlet on his Ezreal.
I don't think he has a choice, Vulcan, given the fact that KLH are so far ahead. He needs to itemize towards armor so he has a bit more survivability, especially...
And he needs the cooldown immediately too.
Yeah, especially with KSPL constantly running in his face. The fact that the thing KSPL is doing, he's zoning away Gary and he's splitting up the Ezreal with the Taric, and it's making it very difficult for Mineski to actually lay down any damage because KSPL is just so fearless going for Gary.
And looks like the members of KLH know who to target here. The most immobile champion, which is the Taric. Note that for TG's KDA 030, it's not a surprise because KLH, they're trying to remove TG from the fight instantly because they don't want Mineski to use the Cosmic Radiance, a powerful tool to try and turn the fight around for Mineski. So by removing that, KLH immediately puts the fight in their favor.
Yeah, I think TG's a bit sad right now, Vulcan. I mean, he did buy the Tear of the Goddess, which means that he is crying a bit given that KLH have been bullying him a lot. So far though, Kaigu, we did mention that the Gnar is a counterpick to the Rumble, and I think one good point here for Mineski is there's going to come a point in this game where it's going to be extremely difficult for Shiro to deal with Kaigu in the 1v1 towards the side lane. So Gnar split push might be one of the ways that Mineski comes back into this game. But they also need to avoid the engages coming from KLH. But speaking of avoiding engages, here comes one now.
Red side. Looks like TG forced to flash away. And for June, he's just backing away from the red side of his own jungle. And KLH invading the territory of Mineski.
You might want to go for it. Was that Predator pop?
The Predator hasn't been popped, I think, for yet. Not yet, because it's on the cooldown halfway there. So it was just the burst of speed, I would say.
It was a zoning Predator, Vulcan. The fact that KSPL activated that means that Mineski have to respect him. They need to back off because if you don't, he'll just run in and then Galio will be instantly on top of you and there's really no way that you can stop him.
Oh, what's this? This will be the second turret going to KLH. If Mineski does not stop this approach, looks like they don't have enough resources, not enough items and spikes to contest and try and challenge KLH to try and defend their outer top lane. Now, they are rotating towards the Rift Herald.
Yeah, and if Kuala Lumpur Hunters do take this, which I believe they will do, as Mineski really don't have any business challenging this, it will mean that KLH do accelerate the pace of the game because the Rift Herald can be used to take down even more towers from Mineski's side. The only outer turret remaining is in the mid lane. EXO has done a good job of holding his own in that matchup. And now I think KLH, they might want to spawn this Rift Herald towards the mid lane and try and just brute force that down because even if this goes to a team fight, I think KLH still have even just way more advantages compared to Mineski.
Yes, definitely, because we can see right now for Shiro, he is really going for the Leander's Torment to rush in that damage. Ridiculous damage will come out of this Rumble if Mineski does not stop anything here or try something here. Anything to get a small lead. anything is better than nothing here for Mineski because they need to do something because KLH, they are just taking away objectives away from Mineski.
Yeah, if you're Mineski right now, Vulcan, you need to stop the bleeding because they're constantly bleeding resources here and they need to stop it. Need to put the tourniquet on, really try and bandage these wounds because Kuala Lumpur Hunters have such a stranglehold on this game that any fight they choose to take, they'll just win it right off the bat as they are moving towards the bot side jungle. Dragon will be the objective in their eyes. Regardless of Mineski seeing this on the Scuttle Crab, none of them are in a position to challenge.
That's definitely true because if you check out the items of this Varus, we are seeing that he already has 2 items in. Looks like mid lane. Tauntaun's gonna count the TG. Cosmic Radiance! No, a bit too late here. Burns, the only hope for Mineski. And now the Baron will be live in 1 minute and 14 seconds. Next Drake is Mountain Drake, but for KLH, they're eyeing this Baron.
Yeah, TG, he wasn't given any time to get that Cosmic Radiance down onto him. It doesn't save his life. KLH, they got the pick off, and now they're gonna use the Rift Herald and try to break open the mid lane tower
57.
of Mineski.
54 seconds left on the Baron Tower, and like I said before, KLH, they want to remove the tool of Mineski. TJ with the Cosmic Radiance, just try and pressure that out. Herald making way into the outer mid lane turret. That's going to be Mineski trying to defend the waves here. The turret still stands. Mineski managed to at least defend their outer mid lane turret. Meanwhile, in the top lane side, Kaigo doing his best to push out the top lane turret. But in the end, can't do much here. Baron will be live in 25 seconds.
Yeah, looking at Kaigo and Shiro, the game has been fairly non-interactive for the both of them. It looks like they've just been matching each other in the side lanes where Shiro has been trying to hold down this Gnar so he becomes a non-factor when it comes to team fighting. As for KLH, they failed to break the mid lane tower, but it is fairly low. They need to set up around that because once they do take that final outer turret, it really opens up the map for them and allows them to go for more aggressive moves.
Looks like for Gary, he did finally stack up to the Muramana on his Mana Mune. So now he has the Frozen Gauntlet and the Muramana. As we see on to KLH's side, Ozoroveki, Gwyn's Rage Blade, and the Runan's Hurricane.
Yeah, I think one positive we could take away from Mineski is since Gary and EXO do have core items completed, they can start to fight the members of KLH now, but they still need to understand that they are behind.
You know, the fact that they're that behind, if you check out what happened in the early phases of the game, translating now into the late game, you can see that when it comes to June on the Kazakhs, he really could not do anything in the early phases of the game because Kuala Lumpur Hunters did such a great job by skewing the path of the Kazakhs, forcing out a level 1 hop from June. That's something that Mineski does not want to happen. That's something that Kazakhs does not want to happen at 2. But for KPL, he wanted that to happen so that they get a huge control.
You know, I really want to praise Kuala Lumpur Hunters here for effectively shutting down Jun, the jungler of Mineski. They've made the Kazakhs a non-factor in this game, and it shows in his KDA. As a jungler, 21 minutes into the game, you do not want to be 0-0 and 0, Vulcan.
And as for Caspiel, already getting a 4 out of 5 kill participation. That is above 90, so looks like his job is complete. But how long will that effect continue? Because for Mineski, they have what it takes to come back to this game. It's a matter of time where KLH, they're on a timer. Every lead you have in the early phase of the game will even out as the game progresses. Gold lead, everything. But what can change here is the Drakes.
And so far, it's just one Cloud Drake over to the side of KLH. And you did mention that Kuala Lumpur Hunters will fall off eventually. Looking at the champions they have, there's gonna come a point where the Rumble can't 1v1 Kaigo. Caspiel won't have the same power he had earlier in the game. Once he falls off towards the late game, he'll just be relegated to a tank that can run at people. So Kuala Lumpur Hunters definitely playing on a timer. Baron is on the table, and I think they can easily take this objective, and that might be what they need if they want to push forward versus Mineski.
And this takes me back to the PGS Spring Split of Mineski, where they were one of the teams pegged to be the ones who have the strongest early games, but now being tested here, being challenged by Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Looks like they have met their match with Caspiel, hindering that early advantage. So far, Mineski Now they're switching things up. That's the adaptation they have, waiting for their right time to strike back against Kuala Lumpur Hunters. The next Drake, which is the Mountain Drake, will be live in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
One thing I'm really concerned about here on the side of Kuala Lumpur Hunters, though, is they've kind of slowed down. Earlier, we saw them constantly make plays. Okay.
Such a ninja. Very close call there. June trying to scan some wards here. Looks like for KLH.
Please.
Again with the scout.
I like what he's doing. He's making use of the passive from the Kha'Zix ultimate that is upgraded to check the bush constantly instead of having TG face check, which is a much more dangerous option. But also, he needs to be careful here because the Galio could come in at any time.
Damage onto KSPL. Low on health, 50% off. That's immediately a bad signal for KLH to go commit to this red buff. Will they risk everything here? Or will KSPL go for a sneaking steal? It will not happen. Looks like the red buff will go to Gary.
Chain of Corruption?
Connects in to TG, locking TG down. Here is Anders in. Radius pushes through, but look at EXO flashing into danger and same with June. That is going to be a bad move by Mineski. Looks like they are torching the members of Mineski on the red side here. Forcing out a flash from the Rumble. Kaigo trying his best with a Mega Nut to the wall. There's the stun. There's the double. Make it a sweet triple kill. A cleanup will happen, but looks like our hedge will remove Gary.
It looks like our hedge will survive. No, I don't think he will survive for long. But man, KLH, I think that wasn't the time to fight over the red buff. Kaigo finally arrives to a team fight. He makes use of the Meganar. Regardless of the equalizer being in such a great position to zone away majority of the carries from Mineski, they still come out on top. And just like that, Vulcan, they are back in this game.
7-4 kill score here. And as for Gary getting that triple, immediately he is going for the recurve bow and the cutlass. Looks like he's going for the blade of the Ruined King.
Let's go again and look at this fight here. TG, he did get caught by the Chain of Corruption, but they weren't able to burst him down before the Cosmic Radiance come out. The Alistar buried his CC onto the support, not onto two of the carries. So both EXO and Gary were still able to dish out majority of their damage. And I love the patience from Kaigo, not using the Gnar ultimate onto the Zhonya's Rumble and waited for him to flash over the wall so that he could land that CC. Just great knowledge by Mineski's top laner, and they absolutely outplayed KLH in this team fight.
That Mega Gnar ultimate changed everything. But as for Jude, he wanted to go for the assassinate. But looks like the Baron has been started by KLH. That's going to be 3,000 health. Can Jude go for a steal here? KLH going out for the Baron, and the steal does not happen. Jude trying to get away, but in the end, the Wings of War will catch him.
Yeah, the Hunters redeemed themselves after that lost team fight around the red buff. They instantly come back and they take the Baron for themselves now. For the next few minutes, they have control over Summoner's Rift.
It's very difficult because Jun is really behind in the levels, so as compared to KSPL. The first Baron will fall to the hands of Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Mineski tried to go for a steal. Did not work so well.
Man, that would have been disastrous for the Hunters if Jun got that Baron. But now the Hunters, they have the Baron buff on their side. They're going to want to push open now because they need to push back Mineski. After that team fight, I'm really concerned because the members from KLH, the champions they picked, are beginning to fall off here. The Rumble isn't as effective in a team fight compared to the Gnar because the game has been fairly interacted. Fairly low interaction between the top laners. So yeah, now with this Baron, KLH, they're gonna want to push forward.
And as for the Gnar, know that throughout the patches, the Gnar's ultimate has a lot of base damage, but looks like that's working so well for Mineski. So let's see, what can Kuala Lumpur Hunters do to try and use the Baron to get more objectives?
I want to see them play a bit more aggressively here because during that red buff fight, I felt like there was a lot of hesitation towards the side of Kuala Lumpur Hunters, where normally we just see them go in with the Olaf, but Jun will fight KSPL.
KSPL gets spotted by two members of Mineski, EXO and Jun, trying to chunk him down, but in the end, has the deadman's place, so he will just go back and recall to base.
Okay, 27 minutes into the game, Vulcan. 8-4 in the kill score in favor of the Hunters. It looks like they're not grouped up yet going for a push. They're fairly split up here, and I think part of the strength of their lineup has to be when they are grouped up. It's very difficult for them to actually hit the towers of Mineski though, so that's a bit of a concern for Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
That's actually a huge opportunity for Mineski because if they know that Kuala Lumpur Hunters, their scaling is actually stopping right now. They're getting outscaled by Mineski. They have the Azir, the Azrael, and the Dar. The Kuala Lumpur Hunters are trying their best to go for more pressure throughout the whole map, but their strength is in team fights, so they can't really go for that, and they can't really clear the waves because there is an Azir.
Right now, I think KLH might want to take down this tower, but everyone from Mineski is just there to defend. But looking at how Mineski have been able to hold this game so far, Vulcan, even though we haven't seen that much of him, I really want to credit Kaigo on this now. But whoop, Jun will go for something.
Jun tried to go for Zoraveki immediately catches the Chain of Corruption, burns that ultimate. Looks like Righteous Glory has been popped. Hero's address is available, calls in the Galio for the knockup, and the Rumble with the equalizer. Kaigo from the sideline, he cannot do anything here. He's not even Mega Dark 4. Meanwhile, the turret has been destroyed in the mid lane for Mineski. They suffer TG.
Yeah, TG will be the sacrifice for that fight. Since Kaigo wasn't in Mega Gnar form, I don't think Mineski would have wanted to go for a re-engage right there. But I think Mineski are lucky that it's only their tier 2 mid lane tower that did go down so far after that Baron buff take by KLH.
So far for KLH, kill score of 9-4. Mineski, from the early game they had a struggle, yes. But for now, looks like they're trying their best to come back from that deficit. And as for Jun, he's really becoming a non-factor in this game. He cannot really do much. He was not able to detect the flow of the game, so I guess he has been relegated to just farm out his items. At least he is eyeing the Varus.
You know, I think for Jun here, even though he doesn't have any kills or assists to his name, the fact that he's still a threat to a Zoraveki, if KLH don't watch out for the Kazakhs, I think Jun can still easily assassinate the Varus. So as long as he's a threat, as long as he's in the back of the mind of the Hunters, I think he's not that irrelevant as we do see him here. Transitioning into the game, we are 30 minutes in now. Vulcan, Mineski, their comp seems to be scaling fairly well here. It kind of shows that KLH are beginning to fall off and get outscaled. They do want to push the pace here. They really need to get that one team fight win and not let Mineski... they don't want to give Mineski any more time to scale here.
And as for Mineski, they're just waiting things out again, but they have to be very careful. Okay, they're focusing too much on the TG instantly, removing TG from the fight so that Gary won't have to sustain. The heal is not there. Same as the Radiance, but Mineski, they have to be very careful, and same as for KLH, do not overcommit. They need to realize that at this point, EXO is now building towards the death cap.
Yeah, and the Cutters, they need to take down towers now. We haven't seen them break open the tower until probably now. No, not even. Mineski are doing a good job of matching wherever KLH do want to push. And their members, they haven't been caught out as much as KLH would have wanted to.
The Mountain Drake is live right now on the map. Looks like KLH may eye this out so that they can have an easier time pushing out the waves and the turrets.
Man, this is getting scary. Actually, I think even though the gold lead is 5k in favor of KLH, as far as the scaling of champions, I think this is fairly even at this point. Look, in a team fight, Mineski's members can easily outdamage Kuala Lumpur Hunters. This is a big concern if you're KLH because they have slowed down quite a bit here. Earlier, we constantly see Caspiel just run at people and pair that with the hero's entrance of the Galio. But during the past 15 to 20 minutes, where have we seen that play? We haven't seen KLH have that early game aggression that granted them this lead.
The same aggression they had, yes, for KLH from day 1 to day 2 right now, is still there. As for Caspiel, he's trying his best to go in for something against Mineski, especially, let's say, calling the Galio with the hero's entrance to start things up for them.
Yeah, but they've only been able to pick off the support. It's only TG going down every time KLH go for these skirmishes. They need to get more if they want to translate that into objectives. But speaking of objectives, Vulcan, Baron is spawning in the next
8 seconds left on the Baron timer here, and Mineski. TG has to be very careful. I just think that Gary will get assassinated here. He cannot escape here. Gets picked up there, knocks up to the air. One member down.
Okay, so that's a pick off onto the AD carry. It will be a 4v5 on the map for the next
That's the
40
worst timing.
seconds. Baron is now on the table. Mineski still have their jungler up. Jun is behind one level. I think what to just, he has to zone out the jungler here. The Alistar and the Galio have to keep Jun out of that Baron pit, because if Mineski steals his objective, that might be their way back in, as
calls in the radius. There is the zone. Time is running out. He could not hop over that wall. Jun could not steal the Baron. And now the Hunters are turning against Mineski. In the red side, Andrews is coming in here, locks up no one. And Mineski are just running for the hills.
yeah, Mineski are running away. The Winds of War will not reach Exosin. But look at the bot lane. Kaigo is actually split pushing the whole time. Now KLH, they need to break open the base. They need to push towers.
Gary has just respawned here towards the base. The inhibitor is now exposed in the mid lane. Gary is there just to defend the incoming waves. Kuala Lumpur Hunters goes back. They are going for a mini reset here, where they did see that Kaigo was pushing out the waves in the bot lane.
Yeah, and you see how KLH secured that Baron. Once again, the MVP for them was Caspiel. He was the one that caught out Gary. He made the decision, let's go for this Ezreal, let's pick him off and translate that into an objective. I did mention that KLH were only getting TG, now they get the AD carry, and they turn that into a Baron.
34 minutes on the timer here. Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they're trying their best to close in the game, but Mineski with Exo on this Azir, trying their utmost best to deny the second incoming wave of the Baron and Baron minions. This is the second Baron falling into the hands of KLH.
Yeah, with the first Baron Vulcan, they weren't able to break open even an inhibitor turret. Now with the second Baron, there's a bear inhibitor in the mid lane. KLH, they want to push this, and they're going now.
They're going on to TG. Stun will not connect because that's a Ragnarok being popped up by the Olaf. Has expired. 4 members of Mineski defending the inhibitor. They're trying to back away here. Jun on the side, eyeing the Varus. Close call there, backs off.
Mineski are just buying time here. They're just trying to poke at KLH so that Kaigo has time to split push. Look at Jun. He's trying to delay them, just trying to be as annoying as he can.
Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they don't have enough time here. Kaigo is split pushing the top lane in a turret. They're going back and forth. Teleport has been called. Kaigo trying to join in the fight. They may go for a flank here. Kaigo, red bar, Meganar. That's why he teleported. He wanted to go for a team fight. But in the end, KLH respects the Meganar and the teleport backs away.
Okay, with that teleport, Mineski will buy a lot of time off of that Baron. They do force KLH to reset. And luckily enough for Mineski, they hold their inhibitor versus the KLH 5-man Baron push. Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they're really respecting the fact that Mineski's champions have scaled very well here and do have enough damage to kill their members off. But I think it's still a bit too much respect, Vulcan. I want to see them go for that aggressive move.
I think for KLH, they're being very careful because this game has a lot of bearing in a way that Mineski can go up the ranking, as same as for KLH, can tie things with Mineski. With something such as high stakes at this stage though, it's only normal that KLH are doing everything they can so that when they go for a clash, when they go for a team fight, they know they have what it takes to try and come out on top. But for Mineski, this is their hope. The time right now is 36 minutes. Equalizer comes in here.
Kaigo.
Radiance did channel through, but Kaigo was not hit by the Radiance. Kaigo is now in Meganar form. Used the ultimate here. Axa goes in with the Emperor's Divine. Our head is down by Gary, but for Shiro, he goes for the revenge kill. Axo has been removed from the fight.
Yeah, both mid laners are down here now. The question is, will KLH be finally able to take down the mid lane inhibitor? So many points in that fight could have turned the tide to either team. Unfortunately, it's just the mid laners going down. Now, looking at how that started, that was Kuala Lumpur Hunters trying to immediately delete Kaigo. But since Zanar was tanky enough to survive through everything, he did survive. And in the end, KLH, I think that's still a victory for them because now the mid lane inhibitor is gone. They can move towards a different lane now and start a push there.
The Elder Drake has just spawned right now. And now for KLH, the Baron is not anymore available. It has not yet spawned just yet. But
oh no.
looks like Kaigo gets picked up there. He won't be taken down here. Meganar is coming in. We're seeing Jun being called by Kaigo, but we're seeing 3 members of Kuala Lumpur Hunters chasing down the members of Mineski. Predator has been popped.
They're trying to push out this blue buff area, Vulcan, because the Elder Drake did just spawn, and since Kuala Lumpur Hunters do have both the Mountain and Cloud Drake,
Here it comes.
gonna want to take that down.
They cannot go for a proper positioning. Just the fact that the Alistar is there just provides enough zone for KLH to successfully take down the inner bot lane turret.
Yeah, now Elder Drake is on the table. KLH can take this down fairly quickly. I think Mineski have given this objective up.
KLH has 2 stacks on the Drake. This will boost their stats. They have the Mountain, they have the Cloud, but Mineski managed to take away one Mountain Drake, and the Baron will be live in 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Yeah, I think the Elder Drake buff will still be on KLH the moment that the Baron spawns. Now Mineski have to respect the fact that KLH have more combat stats because of that Elder Drake. It will add that true damage burn to all of their damage. So now Mineski, they're sort of just relegated to defending here. As for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, I think the next safe play they could make is just shove the waves towards Mineski and then set up for the Baron.
And looking at the items of all our champions here, looks like nearing their 5th item spike and going for the 6th item lock-in by the Varus, getting the last BF sword. He may go for the Bloodthirster. I don't know. He can go for the Infinity if he wants. But all comes down to the fact that for both teams, they're reaching the late game.
Yeah, but I think you did say the late game, Vulcan. The late game heavily favors Mineski. They have the Azir, they have the Ezreal.
It all comes down to execution.
They heavily outscaled the members of KLH in terms of damage. And now the top lane will finally be broken here.
7 turret goes towards KLH. Turret score is 7-3.
See though, KLH, they don't want to risk making an aggressive dive.
Equalizer in. That'll be a heavy dive by KLH. Radiance managed to go in just in time. Exa pushes back the members of KLH. Kaigo comes in with the Meganar, but in the end, 4 members of Mineski just got wiped out.
Kuala Lumpur Hunters pick up 4 kills. They take the Ezreal out of the fight, and just like that, I think they will end the game here, Vulcan.
Well played by Kuala Lumpur Hunters. What an execution with KPL again calling the shots, giving the Hunters 1 win.
Oh my god, this game, man. Kuala Lumpur Hunters absolutely stepping up here, and I really want to praise Caspiel for his play and just the Kuala Lumpur Hunters in general, really, because they made Jun an absolute non-factor in that game.
Not just that, the fact that Caspiel calling the shots, taking the risks, all led down to their victory and their win conditions. Well played indeed by KLH, but for Mineski, they tried their best to try and stall. It showed that they want to still win the game, but looks like this game too will be going to KLH. Congratulations, Malaysia.
Yeah, that was a great game by Kuala Lumpur Hunters, but you know what this means, Vulcan? It will mean Ascension Gaming will have sole possession of that top spot headed into the playoffs. As for both KLH and Mineski, they will be tied, both with 2 match wins and 1 loss.
I gotta say, that game was rather extended because Mineski, they did have the late game comp, scaling comp, because when the inhibitor was actually opened up there in the mid lane, that gave Caspiel enough room to go for the sides and then take down the members of Mineski.
Yeah, that was a greatly played game by everyone from Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Really credits to them for taking down Mineski for the 2nd match of the day, but I do believe we still have more for today, Vulcan.
We'll be going to a short break here. My name is Vulcan. With me was Chista, your shoutcasters for Game 2. We'll be going on to a short break to resume the Garena Premier League Spring 2018 onto Game 3.